with Jasmy for me that really got me interested is the fact that what Mr. Patrick Smith was saying too with the regulation in Japan, but Japan has some of the strictest laws basically in the world. So they got listed there, everything's good, and what's really important is that later this year too in Japan, their tax laws are going to be changing. Like the US is going in the opposite direction, Japan's actually moving forward and embracing crypto. So what they're doing is going to be reducing their capital gains tax down to around 20%. You know, they're getting rid of that unrealized gain tax, which is currently in law there. The government, under their prime minister, is taking the approach of utilizing blockchain technology, and Web3 is kind of like the basis for an economic spark, right? They want to really create that innovation, and it's really refreshing to see a government that's starting to get it, right? That technology is not going anywhere. The innovation is going to grow. But for Jasmy, keep building. They've built this whole bear market. They've built new partnerships. They've made new partnerships. The use cases are there. They're actively selling their secure PC units. And what I'm really excited about now, Q1 this year, they're starting to sell English versions of secure PC in India. And that's really massive because Bio is really big there. Jasmy's partnered with Bio because of Sony and their Sony managements. So for me, I really got into them just because, one, the management is basically top tier. They passed strict regulation, and they're basically business people. They're not these 20-year-olds on Twitter or in a basement posting about all this crazy stuff. They're just straight to business, and they're not worried about money. They've got plenty of money, so it's not like an issue. I feel really good with where I'm at. I've just been DCAing, basically. I've been lowering my average, and I'm really excited to just wait a couple of years and see where things go.
Hello, everybody. It's Max with Crypto Talk Now. When it comes to Jasmy, they're going to have a new secure PC coming here soon, according to Hara. Well, what does that consist of? On top of that, boy, oh boy, do we have quite the lineup of things to get into when it comes to Jasmy. So for one, let's look at this outline. Mystiko. Are you aware of what that is? Maybe you are from the past. On top of that, a stable coin? Yeah, let's jump into that as well. And then these last two. Jasmy, a 2,635x from where we're at right now. Am I just pulling out of thin air? We'll get into that outline as well towards the end of this video. And then we're always hearing about the Q4 lockup. Where's the origins of that? Where did it come from? Smash that like if you haven't done so already, and please hit that bell notification where you can keep up with the latest Jasmy content from us here at Crypto Talk Now. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into today's Jasmy outline. Here we go. So I saw this, and this of course comes straight from Twitter, straight from Hara, believe it or not, is who we're going to start things off with. And as you can see right here, he posted this originally on the 19th, and he mentions they will be exhibiting at the Blockchain Expo on May 10th through the 12th. We will be introducing our new secure PC, a phase 1 product for blockchain PCs. In addition, we are looking for companies to participate in test marketing. We look forward to seeing you there. So with that said, this concept of the new secure PC, well, what is that going to be, right? And if anything, who do they partner up with potentially to get the job done? Now, in regards to the current secure PC, we know that's pretty much exclusive to Japan, like Southeast Asia region and so on. You did see Hara go to for instance, Hong Kong to introduce the product as in the secure PC, talk about, for instance, personal data lockers, just basically introduce Jasmy to that region. And it was really, really great to see that. But here is, of course, something to look into. And we're aware of Akashi, right? We understand that they are a subsidiary of Sony. We also understand that Jasmy has close ties to Sony. For crying out loud, Jasmy's former, has former executives, right, that worked with Sony. So as you can see right here, it says this API integration. Of course, this is a while back with Jasmy Secure PC installed. It gives you all this information in regards to Akashi. So for the most part, we understand that Akashi is a big player, and we've done, deep dives in regards to Akashi. So we're not going to take too much more time to get into that. You're more than welcome to check out some of our old videos in the recorded video section in regards to Akashi. Just to give you a quick gist, since we're on the topic of Akashi, and that is this. Like it says, Akashi adopts a design that can be operated. This can, contribute to cloud attendance management services, check attendance books, revise performance, approve various things, right? It was a big thing in regards to the current secure PC. Now that we've understood that, let's jump into our outline. So when I saw the whole topic of what Har was mentioning in regards to a new secure PC, I said to myself, let's reference the past, because it's going to give you a great broader understanding of where we're at now. So in the past, on February 2nd, 2022, you see this, and it mentions straight from Jasmy management, Jasmy will accelerate the layout of overseas markets and set up the first North American base. And on this outline today, we're going to get into all of it. It's going to line up, in my opinion, perfectly with this thesis of, do they have something solid for expansion? Or should we just look at Jasmy as, it's just Asian focused? I don't think that's the case. I think they really, really are trying to explain or plan for expansion. Excuse me. So with that said, look what's mentioned here. Jasmy will accelerate the layout of overseas markets, set up the first North American base. And, like it mentions here, in 2022, Jasmy will establish a base in the West Coast of USA, promote alliances with companies with cutting-edge technologies for joint business development for global services. Now, some people feel as though, well, that didn't happen, Max. Why even mention it? Well, we're going to mention it because here's the thing, right? I think a lot of this was delayed. Personally, right? That's just, my own personal thoughts and so on. Maybe some people feel as though that's a stretch. I don't think so. So we're going to get more into this. Here's a little bit more of what we have. Again, like it says, Jasmy will soon launch an English version of the secure PC system. Why would they want to do that? Well, if anything, when you see some of the claims that were made in regards to how far they're looking to take this whole thing of Jasmy, the secure PCs, and their global reach, you'll come to the conclusion that, okay, this makes sense. They're not just focused on, that Asia Pacific region, right? They want to take this thing worldwide, hence why we got some of these particular price predictions. Doesn't come from me, okay? It comes from the actual Jasmy team. And of course, when we get towards the end of this outline, we'll get into that as well. So it says, making a significant landing in the commercialization of Jasmy in overseas markets. Jasmy will soon launch the English version of Secure PC system, and pre-installed with the Secure PC system will be released, of course, in Asia. That already was. With these initiatives, Jasmy will create a new value and provide new services to its users on a global scale using innovative Internet of Things and blockchain technologies. So we go to this next particular one that I want to show you. It's just kind of a little bit more of a reiteration, trying to pound this home in different dates, right? Accelerate Jasmy Coin's global layout. Jasmy will strengthen cooperation with head financial companies. Who are some of those head financial companies? We'll get into that as well. So it says Jasmy will join forces with the world's leading financial companies and fintech companies, as well as crypto asset companies that support Jasmy's concept of data democratization to complete Jasmy Coin's global layout of Jasmy IoT platform and secure PC and also personal data lockers. Now, when I got more into this, I said to myself, well, okay, tell me something in regards to this whole concept of the West Coast. Aha. As you can see right here. This was all the way back a few months after some of those other news, we just shared with you guys in regards to this expansion, right? So this is, of course, April 22nd, 2022 from this original tweet. And here it says, introduce our new partner from Silicon Valley. Well, last I checked, living here in the United States, Silicon Valley is basically the San Francisco Bay Area. San Jose, the whole region is basically considered Silicon Valley. So, when we get more into this, it mentions Mystiko Network. Jasmy is excited to work with them and to empower user privacy in the world of IoT. Well, what does it mention here? It says specifically Jasmy with Mystiko, bridging the on-chain and off-chain world with Internet of Things privacy. So, at the end of the day, who is Mystiko, right? Great question. So, here is Mystiko. And they are the first audible Web3 zero-knowledge connectivity and privacy-based layer. That right there on the surface would make sense why Jasmy would want to get involved with a particular company like this, and especially for expansion, right? So you may be thinking, well, can we get a little more into this? Absolutely, we can. Let's bring this to your attention. So it's a universal Web3 protocol and software development kit. It says non-privacy coin, non-coin mixer, but the ultimate Web3 connectivity and privacy infra via PaaS, privacy as an SDK. It's for blockchains, it's for bridges, it's for wallets, it's for decentralized apps, right? Here's some of the use cases, right? So it says, revolutionize many and create more applications. They have cross-chain privacy bridge. Basically, in a nutshell, like it says, users deposit assets on one chain and withdraw from another chain privately without exposing transactions details to anyone. Mystiko protocol can be implemented into any cross-chain bridge. And at the end of the day, if Jasmy's looking to expand, which they are, they need something that's going to solve this. Might as well get it done in advance, right? Prepare for the future. All right. One thing I liked here that I saw was these two specific things. Mystiko Pay. It's a confidential on-chain payments without exposing users' payment histories to anyone. At the end of the day, when we're using Jasmy, right? It's not just, strictly like, okay, just protecting data, but what about the privacy of payments, right? That's going to be a big thing for Jasmy in the future. So it says all incoming payment histories are private, especially useful for companies and merchants to prevent exposing sensitive business turnover details on chain. Again, Jasmy is all about privacy. This simply makes sense. So what about this secret vault? Users could transfer assets to a brand new secret ultra safe address with full privacy. If Jasmy, if they're a personal data locker, it would make sense to team up, and have a strategic partnership with a company that's promoting a quote unquote secret vault. Sounds good, doesn't it? Anyway, they got private dexes. There's all sorts of core features, right? It's highly compatible, highly affordable. And I saw that symbol right there, and I said to myself, that looks interesting. Doesn't that look like Polygon's logo? Yep, you better believe it. And how about this? Mentioned right there on the right side of your page. Mystiko Network costs 50 to 90% lower on transaction gas fees than all major existing private transaction solutions. That right there sounds pretty darn impressive. So, some people that don't know a lot about Jasmy, they're going to point out, well, on CMC, Jasmy is a, ERC20 token. That means expensive gas fees, especially in a bull market, right? And I would agree 100% with that. You also got to keep in mind, Jasmy does have that Binance Smart Chain BSC bridge, right? So you always go with, the Binance Smart Chain bridge and so on, and, pay significantly less when it comes to like gas fees, right? And of course, I think for the most part, people are going to do that, right? So I want to show you guys some of this, right? So it says use case with the Mystiko network, cross-chain, single-chain scaling, and cross-chain and single-chain coin mix. They have this, thing for private transactions. They have a lot of things basically mentioned here, right? And that's really, really good stuff. Speaking of bridges, right? Here's some of the companies that they're partnered up with. I want to show you this, connected privately by Mystiko. And look at this. I mean, we go further into it. Obviously, Ethereum, like I mentioned, Binance, and boom, there you go, Polygon, right? And it just doesn't end there. We also have Avalanche and even Phantom, right? And of course, there's some other ones. I'm not really familiar with LXR, but I am familiar with Moonbeam. Right there is pretty darn cool to see some of these specific things. So, thought I'd point that out to you guys. On top of that, I want to show you just a tad bit more in regards to what we have on our outline. And, one thing I want to also jump into is this right here. And this was basically mentioned a few months back at the end of 2022, comes straight from CoinDesk, right? So CoinDesk did a big piece on Mystiko and so on. So, let's just jump into a little bit more in regards to Mystiko. And I swear we'll get into all the juicy stuff here in a moment. But it's good to have a broader understanding of, just like where your digital assets going. We do these deep dives for a reason. So it says the blockchain can get so private it can't be audited until now in regards to Mystiko. Ooh, what is this? So it says Mystiko Network just invented the trustless but verified privacy protocol. Again, when you get more into some of this stuff, you become that much more impressed with Jasmy. At least I am. So it says privacy isn't just a good business practice, nor is it only a nice to have design feature for scalable technology platform. And you love to see what is outlined here. At the end of the day, as the saying goes, if your project can't scale, you're pretty much stuck in the mud, right? So, a perfect example is if I'm having like the greatest user experience, everything is just, going 100%, no hiccups, no issues. But the next guy doesn't get the same user experience. He's not able to, there's no scalability. You got to have scalability, and especially when it comes to, blockchain and so on, right? Distributed ledger technology, especially expanding into Web3. Right, we get that. So it says privacy is ultimately a basic human right. That's one of the reasons why blockchain, which is inherently defensive of privacy, is so appealing. And I couldn't agree more. Even so, no right is absolute because any right, however prized, will eventually come into conflict with a right possessed by someone else. How do you determine, these rights and so on, right? You got to have compliancy. That's but basically in a nutshell. So it says that's where basically Mystiko Network comes in. They are looking to be like the innovator of this type of technology. So when we go further down into this, I want to show you this. It says, this whole thing about privacy. It says, in regards to, Mystiko Network, it says dedicated though it might be to user privacy, can allow itself to be used for malicious or illegal activities that bring harm to society. You got to keep in mind that your blockchain platform has to have some certain type of things, right? And that says right here that Mystiko Network, whose central mission includes protecting privacy for the good, not for the bad, has to protect privacy rights for users with legitimate reasons and from the bad actors exploiting on-chain privacy. So again, Jasmy wants to work with, obviously a protocol, especially American-based, that gets it, right? So, some people may feel as though, well, why work with an American-based, blockchain project like this if, we have obviously a lot of companies, exiting out of the United States, potentially exiting out. That hasn't quite happened yet. And my answer would be, well, what if Jasmy is actually planning for the future? What if they're planning for something that, could lead to regulatory clarity, right? So we already have technically clarity in Japan, but for them to reach their global goals for expansion and hitting some of these price targets, they also understand that they need to have other countries, big players like the United States on board for the potential what ifs, if you will, and I can't blame him for doing so. So Mystiko designed the first decentralized auditing system for on-chain private transactions. It says it's the new decentralized private transaction audit. Goes on more and more in regards to this. It says Mystiko's auditors would represent reputable, reliable auditing firms, regulators. See what it says? Regulators and non-governmental or in governmental organizations. The specific members would need background and expertise in technology as well as finance. And in regards to all this, right, it's got to be, compliant, right? They really, really want to pound that home in regards to compliancy. I want to read this last part right here. It says, this privacy as a service model upended the assumption that privacy had to be either backed into a layer 1 solution or bolted on as a layer 2 overlay. Mystiko still supports layer 1 and layer 2 privacy tool development in addition to its software development kit. I want to jump down to this. I think it's at the bottom. And let me pull that up. Here it is. This is really good. So when I told you guys at the beginning of this particular segment of this outline, I mentioned, that clarity, right? Some of the what ifs and so on, but you got to keep in mind, why have all this? Here's the answer to why we have to have all this. It says specifically, regulators are looking to ensure that on-chain privacy does not prevent the kind of disclosures that, listen to this, institutional and retail investors have come to rely on. Again, if you're preparing for the future and you understand that we have to get regulatory clarity, which is the big step forward for all of this to not be so volatile, to have institutional money coming in, right? You got to have things set up this way, like it says, right? So, again, preventing the kind of disclosures that institutional and retail investors have come to rely on. And so there's this, right, in regards to specifically this whole topic of Mystiko, right? So we're going to jump into just a tad bit more of what we have in regards to this. And like it shows right here, even reference from Jasmy, bridging the on-chain and off-chain world with privacy, Jasmy begins discussion to integrate with Mystiko network to protect user data privacy in the realm of what? IoT. Of course, this is a little while back, but it says Jasmy is excited to work with Mystiko. You gotta keep in mind I transfer this from Japanese to English, so some of the grammar gets a little bit off. When I try to read it to you guys, it kind of gets a little bit off, so I apologize for that. But yeah, they're excited to get this whole thing going with the privacy in the world of IoT. With the blooming volume of mini computers in various forms connecting to the internet, the world is heading towards a new era of connected hardware and services at an unprecedented rate. It is predicted, listen to this, that there will be 41.6 billion with a B IoT devices by 2025. My goodness. Additionally, the exponential increase in data would be close to 80 billion terabytes per year. These data may contain both private and behavioral data, hence why they got involved with that particular company, which is Mystiko Network, right? So it says at Jasmy, they believe that the user should have control over when, how, and by who their data is used. Only when users are given full control and transparency of their data will users be able to start being comfortable with sharing their data and make IoT communication efficient, private, and secure. I'm looking at Jasmy from a different perspective. I think some people get this and some people don't. I think I even saw some people saying, I don't understand why Jasmy is making such a big deal about the whole thing of privacy. Some people are saying, so what? It's a really, really big deal. It might not be like that big of a deal here in the United States because we just freely give away our data to like Facebook and or now called Meta, Google and stuff like that. You got to keep in mind on the other side of the world, right? The Far East, it's a whole different mindset, right? So how do they tackle, some of the, I guess you could say, or, try to tackle the whole idea of getting, for instance, the United States or some other countries for that expansion where it's a totally different mindset, right? Well, enter some of these concepts, right? And that is this: data privacy isn't ideal in Web 2, right? Well, look at the companies that are part of Web 2. Facebook is a perfect example of Web 2. Believe it or not, Google is a perfect example of Web 2, even though, let's face it, they are preparing for the future. I'll give them that. But like it says, user data never really belongs to the users. Users have to trust a particular company, that's like what I mentioned, and that platform to handle the private data properly and transparently. But in some cases, user data is often exploited. Could we very well see the likes of Jasmy in the future team up with Meta or some of these other companies? It's possible, right? Don't get me wrong. Some people say that's a stretch, but understand this: maybe that very well could happen. If these big players want to prepare for the future, they have got to recognize that we are entering into a whole new era when it comes to privacy. And think about like when we went from Web 1 to Web 2, right? That was a big jump in itself. A lot of companies are from the Web 1 era that didn't prepare themselves for Web 2. They either got swallowed up by other companies or they just simply don't exist anymore. All right. So integrating with Mystiko Network, a ZK-based multi-chain privacy, SDK, Jasmy will be able to authenticate users' devices without having to share private data to the communication network and make IoT data truly secure and private to users. Jasmy's focus on and belief in the high level of security and privacy on IoT is well aligned with Mystiko's network's low-cost multi-chain privacy solutions. So I wanted to show you guys that in regards to Mystiko. Last but not least, in regards to the whole thing of what I was talking about earlier, I did want to show you guys some proof, I guess you could say, just in case if you were wondering if Jasmy, for whatever reason, was had other contracts, like a bridge. Yes, they do, as you can see right here, BSC scan, and that is in regards to Jasmy on the Binance Smart Chain, right? So for people that are like sweating the whole thing of, oh, it's an ERC20 token and it's gonna be high gas fees, keep in mind you always go with BSC. All right, now that we've got that out of the way, let's jump in also into a little more of what we have here. And, we were talking about the whole thing of introducing a new secure PC. I feel as though that's more than reasonable to, I guess you could say, either assume or speculate that, okay, that reference to the Silicon Valley and some of these other particular things, right? So we're going to get more into what we have in regards to some of this stuff. And what I want to show you that is basically this right here. And actually, let me just jump back for a brief moment. Sorry about that. It says, in addition, we are looking for companies to participate in test marketing. We're looking forward to seeing you guys here. Check this out right here. All right. This is it's called Next Tech Week. And like it shows, this is in reference to the booth that they're going to have at the expo. That's basically, let's double check this again. Yeah, it says May 10th through the 12th, right? Blockchain Expo. So here's a little bit of info in regards to this. So of course, if you're lucky enough to go to this, right? Booth number 23-38. But look what it says. We operate our own Jasmy blockchain network that does not require gas fee. All right. So that's like, for all the people who are like, well, that doesn't make sense. You guys are just strictly Ethereum. Keep in mind, no, and that's not the case. And also why we referenced earlier this whole thing of Mystiko, because we wanted to show you guys this as well. I mean, even if they technically got it wrong, right? You got to keep in mind that the whole concept of this thing with gas, and I'll show you again, just in case you missed it earlier. Look what it says. Highly affordable. Mystiko network costs 50 to 90% lower on transaction gas fees than all major existing private transaction solutions. And again, that's just on the private side, right? Some people might want to, state, well, what about on the public side? Well, this whole thing that Jasmy's mentioning definitely makes you wonder, right? So you got to keep in mind, I mean, in the future, they're literally looking to have their very own blockchain. We understand that they're, a token as we speak, but they're looking to make their own blockchain. So that in itself right there, that's very interesting. We would like to hear more from that particular expo in regards to that. At least I would. It says, and we are developing with various companies using blockchain technology. In particular, we are good at protecting and utilizing data such as personal information, various logs, and there are many collaborative projects such as the management of the home call center, Transcosmos, and of course we know about Sagan Tosu fan token. Now, just for a brief moment, we have talked in other videos about Transcosmos, and you may be wondering, well, what's so significant about that? You got to keep in mind, if you have a particular company that can get you like big contracts for call centers, where these call centers have, like, say for instance, thousands and thousands of workers for them working at these places, and there's multiple call centers, or there might be multiple call centers not just in one city. It could be like all over the country, all over different countries, right? That can be big. One example could be, like, for instance, Dell Computers, right? They get those massive contracts for various call centers and so on. So just to give you an idea how long they've been around, Transcosmos, just in case you didn't see the other video that we did in regards to just like the quick little snippet of Transcosmos, they have a very rich history of being a global digital transformation partner. Literally been around since the 1960s, June of 1966, believe it or not. Right, so they've been around for a very, very long time, and I think this is why Jasmy has picked them, because they feel as though they have a very rich history. They're going to help them get the job done for expansion. Again, landing some of those contracts, right? There's one thing to have a retail side for Jasmy, and there's going to be, like, a corporate side of some of these contracts, if you will, for Jasmy, right? So I wanted to show you guys that. And when we get further into this, look at this as well. It says Jasmy Secure PC for contact centers reflects Transcosmos experience in in center operations, as well as the know-how of home-based contact center with approximately 3,000 seats. I mean, they understand, especially with the whole thing that happened with COVID, that basically speaking, you're going to have not only a lot of people working at these call centers still, you're still going to have a lot of people who are going to work at home. So as a result, get a contract going on. Who's going to help you do that? It's going to be Transcosmos. All right. So it says it's one of the largest in Japan. As perspective and security monitoring capabilities, by using this application, it's possible to achieve seamless integrated management of home and center operations, as well as smooth transition to a home contact center. I like some of the other things that's mentioned here. All right. It says applicable industries, manufacturing, automobiles. Hence why we mentioned the whole thing of the autonomous driving. You have, for instance, the Toyota subsidiary of who was it? With Wix, right? We talked about that. We did like a whole big series, roughly about 6 or 7 videos, for crying out loud, right? In regards to that, if you haven't seen that, towards the end of this video, you'll see it in a card. All right. So again, healthcare. How do we know healthcare? You have the whole thing with Jasmy and what is it? I believe was it Core, and there's another one, right? Drug discovery, material development, retail distribution. I said Core. I should have said Care, right? The Care project. So again, call centers. There's a lot to it. IT, security, education. Local government offices. So big stuff. All right. So again, it references Jasmy Secure PC, even Sagan Tosu. So I thought I'd show you guys that real quick. This is again just kind of like a screenshot from basically speaking that company that helps them with the expansion. Transcosmos, I should say. That's what this comes from. We're gonna jump into this next part. All right, let's get into this for a second. So I mentioned this at the very beginning. Let's jump back. It states, basically speaking, that this whole thing with stable coins, right? So it doesn't, I don't think it specifically mentions it right here. Hold on a second, let me go further down. But it was mentioned that they wanted to talk about, for instance, stable coins, right? And so we're going to get into that. And basically speaking, it's this right here. And it says, back from June 28th to 2022. Again, this is going to be mentioned at the block, this blockchain expo, right? So they're going to talk about apparently this DD coin. So a lot of people who may be new to Jasmy, they don't know about this. So it says, what is DD coin? Data democracy coin, Japanese yen backed stable coin, legally equivalent to points. If there's any questions or ideas, welcome to share on the Discord if you want. But let's get into this for just a brief moment. So, the features of this, right? It says it's a new reward system to promote data utilization. And like it shows on the bullet points, granted to individuals as a reward for providing data redeemable for Jasmy coin, used to purchase DD token, recorded on-chain, legal equivalent to points, is a Japanese yen-backed stablecoin. Here's some of the advantages. It supports Internet of Things data. It's inexpensive and fast in regards to transactions. It supports the local currency / in-game currency. No market value fluctuation. That's why it's a stable coin. Can be introduced by listed companies, right? And it says, value indicator of data assets held by individuals. We'll jump to this next part. There's a traditional point system and DD coin user perspective. Look what it says, right? It says, for instance, points cannot be used except for specific purposes. It has a whole outline about all this. I mean, you could take more of your own, deeper dive into this, right? I will mention this part real quick. It says uses expand with the growth of Jasmy, can be used for other services within the platform, NFTs, ticket purchases. For instance, going to the Seg and Toso soccer game, right? Also that baseball team, I forgot the name, but you know what I mean in regards to that. A little bit more in regards to this specific use cases, right? Gonna get into a little bit more of this, right? Wallet activation, Jasmy coin staking. So, I mean, there's a lot to it when it comes to this. So they're going to talk more about that. Just thought I would share that with you guys. All right. Now, for the moment you've been waiting for, save the best for last. Let's get into this real quick. So, did you know that there's 3 KPIs for Jasmy? All right. So, in regards to this, Jasmy aims to achieve KPIs for the following 3 indicators. For one, active users amount of data lockers, right? It says 107 million. Of course, that's what they're aiming for, right? Some people feel as though this could very well happen, especially at the peak of the bull run cycle, right? So it says 107 million is what they're looking to basically achieve. And it says they aim to have 7 million active users in Japan and 100 million overseas. And hence why I feel as though, like what you saw earlier on this outline, am I too far off with some of these things that I'm mentioning? Connecting the dots when it comes to, for instance, referencing Silicon Valley, referencing some of the things that they even mentioned. Literally, Jasmy mentioned, from the management team in regards to, an English version of the secure PC, right? To me, this all makes sense. If you're going to go with, you can't just stop at 7 million in Japan. That's why they went to Hong Kong and that Asia region and so on, right? You have to have something that's going to reach a broader, have a broader outlook, right? Simply makes sense for them to make the secure PC in English. So with that said, look at that right there, right? All right, on top of that, it says the value of data per capita, and it mentions $500, right? We consider the total amount of revenue that the accumulated data will earn in the future, as the data value per person and aim for a value of $500. All right, this one says PDR, Jasmy coin price data value multiplier 16.7x. PDR, we will adopt market capitalization of Jasmy coin divided by the data value of the platform as our own index, aiming for a 16.7x. Excuse me. All right, this point right here, this is real, in my opinion, the juicy stuff. Active users, amount of data lockers. Japan, 7 million potential users, even more than 100 million, 125 million. They say that they are aiming for a 30% share of the market and a total of 7 million users out of corporate PC shipment market of 12 million units per year. Overseas, 100 million potential users, 7.715 million. Focusing on the Asian market, for instance, Singapore, China, Korea, etc., we aim to expand the scale of our business through business alliances with leading local companies. Now, in regards to a little bit more of this, and I actually will read all this verbatim because this is real good stuff. It says the value data up per capita, the $500 that they pulled out from a while back, states calculated as a discounted present value based on the future CF and ongoing value of the total data held per active user. The standard is an additional 0.5 cents per data utilizer. Or I shouldn't say 0.5 cents. I guess that would be like 50 cents, excuse me. So it says the data handled by the centralized user data monopoly model is mainly considered to be big data. For example, and this is a great example, right? Facebook is estimated to be generating about $25 per person per year in advertising revenue. And we're just freely handing it to them. As the saying goes, it's like, oh, all these platforms are free. No, it wasn't free. They use your data, and boy, did they capitalize on it. They capitalize on it big time, right? And the people of Japan are smart, and they get this, right? And they don't want to just, freely, take or steal data. If anything, they're trying to protect data. I'm telling you flat out, when it comes to this concept of Web3, Japan already gets it. The rest of the world, I don't know if they still get it. Like I talked to some people and they don't think this is a big deal. It's an absolutely huge deal, right? Especially going into Web3 and even further. All right, so it says the user attributable data generated in the Jasmy platform is small data with high accuracy. All right, because it is generated from Internet of Things devices and updated in a timely manner. Has continually from the past and enables us to obtain information on other companies, etc., which has been difficult to obtain in the past. By combining this highly accurate small data with big data, we believe that even higher added value can be generated. Here's an example: PDR, price data value ratio, 16.7x. It says Jasmy coin market capitalization, total user to user data value in the platform. Here's some examples: market price times market circulation supply, number of active users, data lockers times data value per user. We will calculate the market value of Jasmy coin relative to the to the per capita data value and compare it to indices used in the stock market and other markets. Although Jasmy coin does not have a right to claim distribution of residential residual assets, we have created an index of present value compared to future data value. This will provide, and again, listen to what it mentions here. Here's the key thing. I wasn't making this stuff up. Institutional investors, my goodness, with information that will help them make investment decisions. So, guys, here it is right here. They literally have prepared for the future. And of course, it says in comparison, this is, to Tokyo Stock Exchange, Mother's average PBR, price book value ratio, if you're wondering what that meant, 16.7x, right? So there's that. Now you may be wondering, well, what about the stuff that you said earlier, Max, with this 2000 something, right? As a matter of fact, 2000 or 2635x, right? We're going to get to that. So look at this. Here was that particular ratio that you saw. Here's a guy who actually, this is not, I didn't write this, right? But I did pull it off of an example that I had. So again, all the examples we just gave you, right? But let's just show it one more time, right? So let's do it together. PDR price, data value, 16.7x, Jasmy coin, market capitalization, total user to user data value in the platform, market price times market circulation supply. You have a market price, which equals X. I mean, this is basically like algebra, right? I'm not a big fan of algebra, even though I did get an A in it in college. I forced myself, still not a big fan of it. But it says market circulating supply. You have 50, and I believe that's billion. Yep, 9 zeros is a billion. So yeah, 50 billion, and that would add up to what's currently going on with that supply. Number of active users, data lockers times data value per user. So number of data lockers equals, for instance, 107 million. Data value per user equals 500, right? We were talking about that earlier with the KPI. Step 1, set up equation. Step 2, cross multiply the numbers circled in red. We already got that going on, and put them on the same side as the 16.7. You already got that. You see what's here. So 16.7 equals X, right? And then for instance, you have that 50 billion supply, right, which represents the circulating supply. And then on top of that, you have, for instance, what you see here, which is 107 million. Okay. And on top of that, you have, what is it, times 500. And it says step 3, divide the equation below by 50 billion on each side to get X. Step 4, X equals 17.87. And again, guys, this is where people get the whole thing of 17 bucks. If you ever wonder, where are they getting this whole thing of $17 per Jasmy? You're going to consistently see that all the time, right? It's because of the Jasmy management team stating some of these figures that you see in regards to the whole topic of, $500 per data value per user. That's where that comes from. Again, like it shows here in the disclaimer, based on Jasmy's KPIs, aka their projections, right? This is what they are expecting the price to be in about 45 years. And I saw it was by 2026. Some people say it's 2027, but I see more from the team 2026. So give or take on that. Yeah, keep in mind, for some people, they just want to get to a buck, right? It's all about how long you choose to hold it. I mean, is this something you're going to really hold, like diamond hand the heck out of it? That is up to you. None of this is financial advice, right? So there you have it. There's some of the figures. I mean, this guy's got kind of sloppy writing, but it's okay. And boom, there you go. X equals 17.869. I don't know if you can see my calculator in the window. I'm going to show you guys this. And basically speaking, off of the current price of Jasmy, and that is, let me see if you guys can even see that. No, you can't see it in the window. That's okay. But on my calculator, you can bust out your own calculator if you want right now. Take this, current particular price, right? It's fluctuating as we speak on CMC, but based on the current metrics, we're at 0.006782. You multiply that by a 2,635, right? That basically is, it's a 2,635x, if you will, right? And you come to, 17.87. Yeah, $17.87. And look what we have here, 17.869. So, you do round it off, right? So, yeah, it is basically a 2,635x from where we're at now. Crazy stuff. That's where they're getting this, if you ever were wondering about that. All right, I'm going to jump to the last particular part in regards to this outline. And here's the other thing, because I realize that people in the comments, they're going to bring up this whole topic of the fourth quarter lockup. So boom, here you go. Here's the origins of the fourth quarter lockup, if you're wondering about it. So here it is. And a shout out, of course, to Dip Metaverse. He's got the best when it comes to leaks of all this stuff and just really great content. I highly recommend you guys following him. Can't thank him enough for, some of the stuff that he finds. He really finds like really unique things that people might have just kind of let slip past them. All right, so Jasmy US, right? It says lockup period begins Q4 2023, removing available circulating supply for company holdings. This is in place of a burn mechanism. You got to keep in mind, like, this is even separate from all of what you saw in the equations. So could this thing even go higher than $17 and was it 69 cents or something, 70 cents? Very well could be, right? And we also got to keep in mind, it's all about supply and demand, right? You got to keep that in mind as well. But nonetheless, look at this, right? This originally comes from February 6th. And let me see if I can blow it up just a tad bit more. This comes from Dip Metaverse. He says, if anyone wasn't sure, we know that the lockup period begins fourth quarter 2023 for the Jasmy management ecosystem. Danny works with Hara and manages the Jasmy official Discord channel. Again, this was posted originally on February 2nd, 2023. Dip Metaverse says, hi, Danny. I saw the roadmap. It looks great. I agree. It does look great. I do have one question, though. Can you share when the lockup period for the ecosystem begins? I'll just blow it up a little bit more for you guys. Does it begin at the same time as the data value exchange in the fourth quarter 2023? Thanks. Here's Danny, right? He's part of the Jasmy team. He says, hi, I've checked this with Mr. Harada, aka Hara. Currently, Jasmy is planning to start the lockup period for the ecosystem in the fourth quarter of 2023. So all the speculation, everybody wondering, well, this was pulled out of thin air. This is a bunch of malarkey. Boom. There you go. That was the origin of where this rumor started. So I know this is quite the deep dive, guys. Was really, really glad to do this for you. I am extremely bullish on Jasmy. And of course, I don't do this too often because, let's face it, last thing you want to see is, like, as the saying goes, moon boys and so on. But there's the metrics. You can see it for yourself. There's the outlook literally from the Jasmy team. You can't make this stuff up. You saw it for yourself, do the math yourself. One last time. Here it is at these particular figures, 0.006782 based on the current prices. Could fluctuate by the time you see this video. Times 2,635. It comes to 17.87. And again, just apply it towards your own math example. You can rewind to that particular segment if you choose to do so. But man, I'm telling you flat out, when we talk about Jasmy could be the first one to get us to the promised land, are we too far off? And my God, everybody says, even in stocks, right? Try to buy the bottom, right? There's a lot of people that are new to crypto. Let's face it. It's all part of the journey, right? I was new at one particular time over 2.5 years ago as well when it comes to altcoins. I am so glad that I was able to buy Jasmy towards the bottom, right? Guys, we're still close to that particular bottom. Yeah, we're now at, a new support level of 0.006 and so on. But the point is, even below a penny, this thing is still an absolute bargain compared to where it was. Combine that with all these other factors of, stable coins being unbanned sometime this coming summer, Web3 white paper, right? Japan embracing innovation, embracing crypto. On top of that, tax incentives, right? Basically everything that's the opposite of the United States. They absolutely get it. And some of these big announcements coming up with this expo and so on, I become more and more impressed with Jasmy all the time. So with that said, it's actually in my top 5 now. It leapfrogged itself. It used to be like my top 20, then made it to like my top 10. Yeah, it's literally in my top 5 at this particular point. Guys, I know this has been a long video for this deep dive. Can't thank you enough, especially if you stayed from the beginning to end. I just want to state this. Make sure you check out our live show if you enjoy the content that we provide. It's every single day, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. I won't keep you anymore. Smash that like. Give us a sub if you haven't done so already. Hit that bell notification. May you all have a blessed day. We'll see you on the next one.